Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to show you how to become a Storj node operator step by step. Let's begin with some introduction to the platform. And if you want to follow along, I wrote this blog article, which I'm going to link in the description of course. And I also decided to back it up with a video to kind of get more traction. So Storj is an S3 compatible platform, which means object storage, which is designed to store your data in a secure and decentralized manner. Storj pays you for your unused hard drive capacity and bandwidth in Storj tokens. But I feel like this statement is wrong, and you'll see why further down the line. Because it's not just hard drive and bandwidth, you're gonna need that uptime and connection reliability and things like that. Overall, Storj is a very nice project with a cool concept of data encryption and decentralization. But I feel like their documentation is kinda overwhelming for new users, especially for those who only use Windows OS. And then one of our subscribers, Hypol, kinda confirmed this for me because he left a comment that official documentation was confusing and he couldn't follow along. By the way, I made another video about Storj mining and how much you can earn with it earlier this month. So if you want to decide for yourself if you should start with Storj mining or not, go and watch that video first. But now that we are past the introduction, let's move on to requirements. Storj node software is not very resource intensive, and there are only few things you're gonna need. Obviously, you'll need a spare computer hardware or some free resources on your hypervisor of choice. This can be an old laptop. You can even pick up one on the eBay for very cheap. This can be Raspberry Pi 3B or 4. I'm running one of my Storj nodes on a FreeNAS, so I'll leave it here as a reference as well. You can also run it on Proxmox and effectively anything else that will run Docker well inside of the VM or bare metal. It doesn't matter that much. Storj project recommends at least one processor core. If it's a VM, ideally give it 2 to 4 cores, because in my experience it boosts your earnings. But one core is a bare minimum requirement. Just don't over provision it, it's not gonna worth your resources. You'll also need a minimum of 550 gigabytes of available, and I repeat available, disk space. So if you decided to mine some Storj on a 600 gigabyte hard drive, that's not gonna cut it. Because you're gonna need at least 10% of that space to store a network metadata, and then another 10 to 50 gigabytes of space for your operating system. Next requirement is an internet connection without any traffic limits, because last month Storj used nearly 2 terabytes of my bandwidth, so the ISP that can provide an unlimited internet line is required. But coming back to that internet line, it also cannot be slow. You need an average connection speed of 50 megabits download and 50 megabits upload. Because for testing purposes, I tried Storj node on my ADSL line in London, and everyone in the house started complaining about YouTube videos not playing well, and there was a big packet loss on the line, so as you can already imagine, the upload speed was the main bottleneck here. Moving on to the next requirement, which is uptime. And your Storj node will be expected to be up and running 99.5% of the time. But generally, as it says over here, the more you stay online, the better, because Storj has a reputation system in place. It's going to check your connection speed and reliability, and it will be also constantly checking your uptime. Remember, if your node reputation is poor, Storj will kick you out of the network, no questions asked. And naturally, the last thing you'll need would be a crypto wallet that can hold Storj tokens. And you can sign up for one at myetherwallet.com. If you want to learn more about that, just Google Storj token wallet. So if you can pass all the requirements, it's time for an enrollment process and identity generation. The step was put in place by Storj team in the latest V3 release. And to get your token, just go over to this address. There will be instructions on how to do this. Just click sign up and follow them. This step will also require a working installation of Debian 10 or Raspbian 10. The installation guides for these systems are all over the internet. Just pick up the one you like and follow it. The default installation will suffice. When you go ahead and apply for your authentication token, it should look something like this. So there's going to be your email part, then colon, and then the key part that they will send you over. And only when you have your authentication key, proceed to the step 3.1, in which we're going to generate the identity. So I have my terminal with IP address of the Debian server populated. I'm SSHing with the terminal, but you can obviously use any convenient SSH method for you. And I will be following the instructions for Debian 10x64. But if you have Raspberry, there are similar steps just down below under this. I am SSH'd in as root. If you cannot do that, just SSH as a regular user and type in sudo su on Raspberry Pi, or just su on the regular Debian system followed by your password. And when ready, just paste in these commands one by one into your terminal. This first one will update your system repositories and then install tmux, curl, and unzip. Then we need to change the directory to root, and then download and unzip the identity generation software for Linux. When that's all done, I want you to have a look at this line over here. It's going to generate a new tmux terminal inside your SSH session, and it will start the identity generation process, which might take it from around few minutes up to few days. And I purposely left it in the tmux session just so you can start the identity generation process and then just close your terminal. Because if we open the terminal back up, let me just resize it real quick, and then execute tmux a, you will find your key generation process still up and running. And tmux will keep it running until it finds the key, unless there is a power cut or something like that. If you want to minimize the tmux session, just press Ctrl B and then D, and you are back in your terminal. But because I don't need a new identity for demo purposes, I'll just cancel the process. And if you want to cancel it for any reason as well, just attach to the tmux session, press Ctrl C, and it's going to be gone. If you happen to be at the terminal when it finds your key, it should look something like this. It will tell you that it found the key with the required difficulty, and it will tell you its location. Then, when you have the key, it's time to authorize the identity. That's where our authentication token comes into play. And here will be your valid email, and this will be your valid key. But in my case, and for demo purposes, I'll just paste in this fake information. And obviously it will tell me that it couldn't find the key. If you see the same error, you're gonna have to regenerate that identity. But if the authorization was successful, go ahead and confirm your identity with grep -c, begin, and then the path to your identification file. These two commands should return 2 and 3, just as in this screenshot down below. If your numbers are different though, try confirming the identity once again. If it was successful, back up your identity files. You're gonna need that in the event when you need to reinstall the operating system or when you want to move to another physical node. The next part of our guide is port forwarding, which I'm not gonna cover in a great detail. I'll just tell you to forward port 28967, and this is your data port. It will be required for Storj to work. And then you can also forward 14002 if you need dashboard access over the internet. And as far as I'm aware, there are no security issues if you expose the dashboard on the internet, but it's generally not recommended. Also, if you can't get the static IP address from your provider, go ahead and sign up for one of the dynamic DNS services. One of them is noip.com, which I've linked in my blog post. Then finally, when this is all done, we need to install Docker on our system. Docker is designed to run software inside containers, which are something similar to virtual machines. I'm not going to go into details on differences between VMs and containers, but they kind of have the same concept behind them, and it is to divide the main operating system from the software you're running on a day-to-day basis. Storj Node Operator software was made to run inside a Docker container, and Docker works best on Linux. That's why it's not recommended to run Storj Node on Windows or Mac systems. When the Docker installation is done, it's time for us to connect an external hard drive. Once connected, you can list it by ls block. And in your case, it's going to be SDB or SDC or something similar. I'm not going to do this on my demo system, but in your case, you're going to need to format that drive in the ext4 format. To do that, just run something like mkfs.ext4 and then specify the drive, something like dev sdb, then press enter, and that will be it. In my blog post, I linked an article that will tell you in great detail how to format a drive and then how to automatically mount it during the system startup. Then for ease of use, I wrote another one-liner that will help you set up the Storj node itself. And this part in my blog post explains on what it does. We're just gonna run it and see for ourselves. So after you run our helper script, it's gonna ask you for your wallet address, which is gonna be 0x something something. Let's specify 0x wallet. Then your email address. Then your external IP address or DNS name. Then how much storage you want to share with the network. In our case, we want to share 800 gigabytes, for example. And then location where our disk is mounted. In my case, it will be MNT. After you enter all of that, it will be once again printed on the screen for you to confirm. If it's all good, press enter. If it's not, press Ctrl+C and repeat the process. After pressing enter, it will download all of the Docker containers which are necessary to run the Storj node software. And then in the end, it will print out the HTTP address of your newly created dashboard. And if you visit the specified address, you're gonna see the dashboard similar to mine. Please keep in mind that my Storj node helper script is very basic and it's not doing any checks on the information you are typing in. So please be cautious with that. But on the bright side, if you made a mistake, just run the script once again and it will wipe out the information you already provided it and it will populate the new information in. Maybe in the future I will improve it, but for now, it is what it is. I hope your Storj node installation was successful and you liked the video. But remember, now your system is running on the internet, so please update and patch it regularly. Ideally, do some reading on the Debian auto update process. Thank you very much for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.